Welcome to the live stream, everybody. As always, I will start with a little Bitcoin analysis and look at some ways I personally like to use the MDX ALGO indicators. Since there's a lot of new faces around the MDX Discord lately, I will briefly go over some of the settings and features of these indicators. And of course, feel free to ask any questions if you have any. I will do my best to answer them as always. With that, feel free to give altcoin requests or that sort of thing, and we can see what I'm seeing, what the indicators are saying, and all of those good stuff. So, yeah, with that, we'll hop right into it. Taking a look at Bitcoin on the weekly chart, I mean, I'm very curious to see how this candle closes later today. A few things I want to mention about this weekly candle is that I really like that it's actually engulfing this whole little range that we had here over the last few weeks. If we get a day or a weekly candle close above this little range, that would be good in my opinion. This could be some sort of a big bull flag, which could actually give us some very large targets. Even if we just, let's say we just kind of go from the bottom here to where it went there, from where we'd be breaking out. I mean, that could technically bring us above this red box, which would be above that 32K range. I would maybe drop this just to be a little conservative to the bottom of this range that we just retested, this downward sloping trend line as well. I mean, something to mention about this downward sloping trend line, we did only have these two touch points. This is the logarithmic scale chart, so it is a little bit different looking than what your chart might look like. But yeah, it is nice to see that this has got that beautiful flip from resistance into support. So if we did take that measurement from where we retested this, I mean, that would be a perfect retest to basically the top of this little resistance box that I have mapped out. And this is just basically the temporary support that we formed at the first half of, well, I guess after we reached our all-time highs. So just this consolidation before we drop down for this bear market plunge here. So interesting that this little move, if we get this little bull flag, the measured move would line up quite perfectly with that kind of $32,000-ish area there. Obviously a very important level for the market. A lot of people are watching this to flip from, very significant support. I mean, this is a weekly chart, guys. This is a massive time frame here that we spent a lot of time trading and finding support at this level. So it would make sense that this support could flip into resistance. One thing I want to mention is it doesn't have to happen. Definitely pay attention if we do get a pump up to these levels. Try to notice whether we just end up getting some kind of a harsh rejection or if we just end up kind of tapping away at these levels. If we just kind of tap away and rather than getting rejected, we're just kind of forming some structure and then we get just above that and then we have this base here as old resistance, new support. I mean, the price could be in a very beautiful position to end up targeting some of these higher levels, which are going to sound ridiculous right now. You guys who have been in some of my streams before will know where I'm going with this. But ultimately, I feel like we are on our way towards 48,000. That obviously doesn't have to be a thing, and it sounds like a moon boy dream right now. But you guys know that I've pointed out many times that bear markets love to end up testing the 618 rejection point. So that's just pulling a Fibonacci from the top of my range here where our bull market topped out basically down to where we've bottomed so far. And that 618 lines up with around 48.5 thousand, somewhere in there. But this lines up beautifully with this rejection point here. There is some serious structure in the chart at this level. So I think it's a very important level to pay attention to. And again, there's a lot of what ifs between now and then because, I mean, we are trading at resistance right now. I know I've been talking about this resistance level for quite a long time on my channel, on these streams and all that. Because the way I see it is this was our lower high on a larger time frame scale. We had our low here, we had a lower low. The highest point between those 2 points is right here. That's what I'm looking at as our higher low. And that's exactly where we started finding a little bit of resistance on this beautiful pump that we've had to the upside. So something to consider there. Just a little bit of a warning there, because as I mentioned, I love that we are so far above this range here. I don't like that we are still flirting with this resistance back here. So a little bit of mixed signals there, but just a couple things to be aware of there. I personally think that if we do get a close above this wick here, I wouldn't be surprised to see just our next weekly candle kind of wick down to that level, retest, and then start trading to the upside. Obviously, we could drop anywhere into this range, would still be healthy as basically holding this as a higher low. If we drop this level, things could get pretty ugly. Yes, we might just be coming and taking a retest of some of this older structure, retest this downward sloping line as support, kind of double bottom territory for our current lows. I don't know how likely that is. The trend is your friend until proven otherwise. So really, as long as we hold this level, basically 21.4K, somewhere in there, I'm going to remain bullish for the midterm here. If I bring up some indicators, actually an important one, you see my vertical green dotted line here. Actually, before I jump ahead of myself too much here, just since I was talking about that 48K as that 618 rejection point, just for some of you newcomers here who haven't seen me point this out before, just basically going back to our previous bear market here, you can see that's basically what happened. When we got a bear market rally, we ended up testing that 618, getting harsh rejection. Once we got our weekly candle closes above that level, that's where we went just absolutely parabolic. Going back to our previous bear market before that one, same thing, pulling top to bottom here. You can see that we obviously got a sharp rejection at this level. We started closing our weekly candles above that level, went absolutely parabolic once again. So really even all the way back to just, it was just 1 week or whatever, but it was your typical bear market 80% pullback there. So still serious price action there. If I pull just basically those couple weeks of trading action there, and we got very close to that 618 once again, and what do you know, we close a weekly candle above that level and just went absolutely parabolic. So that's the reason why I'm looking at that $48,000 level. I know it sounds unrealistic at this level, but one thing is, that's obviously a very serious level of structure in the chart, and once again, just the fact that it would line up so beautifully with that Fibonacci level, I think that's a very important level to pay attention to in the market. Not only that, but there's a lot of people calling for this entire thing being a bull trap because everybody has bear market PTSD right now. It'll be funny that I think they're right. I think this is absolutely going to be a bull trap, but I think the bulls are going to get trapped more so when we get up to these levels. This is when bears are going to finally be thinking, oh yeah, here comes 50K, all-time high is the next stop. I think that's where we end up facing a harsh rejection, and that's where I would love to see this old support level end up being support once again. If we can hold this $28,000 to $32,000 level as support, if we do end up, obviously, again, a lot of what ifs, we have to get above this level first and foremost, but then if we get that rejection, that's where I would really be watching what happens along this box here. I think a lot of people are going to get wrecked when they FOMO in up as we get close to 50K. And as we come back down to these levels, people are going to be calling for new all-time lows. We're going to be going down to 10K, 14K, whatever. But this is the level I'm going to be interested in watching if that happens. So I really just wanted to throw that level on your radar. Just bringing up kind of what the indicators are saying. You can see the oscillator 4 on top is looking a little bit overbought. Not going to lie, there's these warning signs here with the diamond as well as our orange dot here. The oscillator 5 is one that's really interesting to me though, and something I pointed out, this green dotted line I was just about to start talking about. I pointed this out when we got this green cloud, basically this little bit of a red cloud here on the oscillator 5 flipped green here. And generally speaking, on the weekly time frame, when this has happened in the past, it has led to very large moves to the upside. Just to show you what I mean, here's the last time it happened. We got an absolutely massive pump. Even the time before that, yes, it missed half this pump, but that's still from this candle close to where it topped out, that was still another 100% move to the upside. Obviously, some of them have been much larger moves. That was more like 700%, something like that. This one, even more ridiculous, obviously less money in the markets. It takes less money to move them. So the earlier market cycles obviously explode way more, way more violently. So, but just basically showing you that on a weekly time frame, when you see this indicator start to flip into a nice juicy green cloud like that, that's the money flow of this oscillator. So that's basically saying that there's actually the buying volume is starting to really show its face in the markets. So this isn't necessarily just the manipulation that everybody's calling for, because at the end of the day, money talks, and that's just showing that there is money coming into the markets. So absolutely beautiful there. One thing that I am a little bit concerned, not going to lie, is the fact that we got this orange W here. That's a warning, reversal warning, and that's on a weekly time frame. I don't like to take these indicators or these signals too lightly, because you can see it called the bottom absolutely perfectly there. And before that, the last time it triggered on the weekly, it called the top of the bull market absolutely perfectly. So I cannot discredit that. The fact that we have a reversal warning here in a bearish nature since it's above the price, something very serious there. But that being said, this weekly candle closes today, and if it can close above that reversal level, I mean, that might just be showing just how strong the bulls are right now, that they're basically treating this like a type of divergence that it's just not even considering yet. So there may be a lot more basically upside move coming before we end up seeing some sort of another reversal call or whatever. You can see the trend confluence on the weekly chart. This red squiggly line here is also some resistance that we have to pay attention to. It is just above the price right now, so that is definitely something worth paying attention to. Let's just hop over to the daily chart, see if we're getting any other interesting signals here. This red supply box, this is all mapped out automatically from the indicator, I believe. Or is this one that I did manually? Okay, no, never mind. I actually did that one manually. This support box down here, this green one, this is actually automatic by the indicator, just saying that there is a bit of a demand zone back here. And something I love about that is that's just basically this resistance of this little range back here. See, and that's what I was talking about on my channel for a while too. Was that even though Bitcoin was looking weak here, something it did is on the way up, we did actually form this little bit of consolidation on the way up. So even though it wasn't much, we did get that little bit of structure in the charts. And then we saw the resistance of this little range flip into support perfectly, and that's where the price has bounced since then. And on the daily, something I really like is that, here, let me just zoom a few things out here. Let's zoom out on this here, is that on the daily chart here, we did get some nice reversal warnings as well. Once again, we have that orange W there. We also have these little blue triangles here, which is also a potential bottom here. Got a little flip-floppy in this range, but it's nice to see we did have those bottoming signs as well as this demand zone printed here. The oscillator 4 on top here gave us a hidden bullish divergence right at that same level. And actually on my phone version, I believe there was actually a little yellow diamond here too. I'm not sure if it was on a different chart or what, but there was that warning as well. And then the oscillator 5, I mean, it was just a little green dot here, but just a little bit of a warning that, you know, there might have been some bullish pressure there. So I'm really liking the look of that. Just going to hop over to some more degenerate time frames. Let's actually hop over to the 4-hour chart, because I don't know how many of you were paying attention, but actually I had a very busy week last week. I had my furnace go out on my house. A lot of you are well aware of that because I wouldn't shut up about it, but very cold house. If you're familiar with Canadian weather, your life literally freezes when you have no heat in your house, so you make sure you deal with that. So I didn't have a ton of time looking at the charts and that sort of thing. But one thing I did is I did mention on my Twitter, actually, I was watching for a bit of a flip. That range I just pointed out of that resistance flipping into support, I did mention the possibility of that being a thing. Basically, right when we were getting to that level, I was sending off some warnings that we may end up just taking off from here. I was under the impression that we might honestly test back down lower into this range, but I was making it very clear that the warning signs were here, that the bulls might be ready to step back, and that would be a beautiful place in the market. So it absolutely did play out beautifully because we broke past 25K since then, so that was beautiful. But yeah, just basically, sometimes I don't always have time to make a full YouTube video about things I'm looking at, so be sure to follow me on Twitter as well if my analysis interests you. Just gonna start taking a look at some random altcoins here. Actually, before I do that, I do want to go into my settings for you guys. I said that I would do that, and there is a lot of new faces in the MDX community, so I just wanted to go over kind of my settings on these indicators. The oscillator 4 up here, the only thing I really changed from the default settings was I added the hidden bullish and hidden bearish divergences. So that's just the H's that show up there, just to point out some extra signals to me. Oscillator 5 down here, kind of same thing. I added the hidden divergences and that kind of thing. The Algo 3 is where there's a lot more settings, obviously. So let's just bring those up. So some very cool things you can do with this indicator. I know for a lot of you guys this is going to be very repetitive because you've seen this 100 times, but I'll try and go through it very quick. Some things that I really like about the indicator updates is as I turn it on here, you can see we do now have the inverted color on the candles, which is beautiful. That's what I've been doing lately when I have these indicators on. I just really like how we see the indicators lining up basically with a whole bunch of green when you're getting to a bottom, for example. I like seeing the indicators line up with these. Let's just say, for example, here's a perfect example, is on the 4 hour here, we had the candles flip into a bright green. We had our regular bullish divergence on the oscillator 5 down here, and the oscillator 4 up here had that diamond and the orange dot there. So all three indicators showing up with a lot of green, a lot of warning signs that there might be a bit of a bullish pivot, and just an absolutely beautiful call there. So the way I personally use these indicators, and obviously everyone's going to use them different, I still think it's important to do some back testing because everybody has different trade styles. Everybody has different ways that their eyes pick up on things. So I think it's important to back test whatever your trade style is. But yeah, this is just one thing that I love about the indicators is seeing all three of them line up like this. So let's just go back into the settings here. Like I said, I have inverted colors. Trend 1, that would be the more smooth EMA here. And the trend confluence, the second trend here, that would be this squiggly line here. And that one, since I forget what time frame I'm on the 4 hour chart here. Let's just do something I'm a little more familiar with, is generally when I'm trading, I'm looking at more the 5 minute or the 15-minute chart. Which is absolutely degenerate time frames. But what these indicators are great for is kind of getting a better overall view of the market and the longer trends. So even though I'm on a 5 minute chart right here, this trend confluence that has flipped red recently, this is based off the 1 hour chart. So it's nice to have a general understanding of the trend of the 1 hour chart and seeing where the trend might run into some trouble, face some resistance, that kind of thing, even though we're on a 5 minute chart. So it is just on auto settings right now, but anything when you're on a chart less than an hour, it's going to be using the 1 hour trend confluence. Signals, that would be our strong or our strong green or our strong red, or just our regular long and short signals. You can see that they're kind of spaced out wherever here. With that, now that I have filter checked, that's also one of the latest updates, is when I have filter checked, basically it's not going to give you a whole bunch of chop. It's only going to give you the signals, the long and short signals, when the trend confluence agrees with the current chart's EMA. So it's nice to get, you're not going to be getting all those random scalp shorts in here, which depending on your trading style, maybe you don't prefer this, but I like to kind of clean up some of the chops. So that's why I like to have filter checked. The way I use these indicators personally, and once again, totally based on your own trading styles, but quite often I actually have these long and short signals turned off. just because I find that I like to FOMO into anything if it's not, if I just see the words coming up, I'm more likely to try and FOMO into something rather than how I typically look at things is basically looking for setups as I get close to my trend confluence on whatever chart I'm trading. So that's just me personally. I'm more likely to take these calls as they happen close to the trend confluence. As you start getting, let's say we were starting to get long signals way up here and the trend confluence is way down here or something, I'm less likely to take them seriously just because I think we might be getting overextended. So yeah, I really like to see when we start seeing double bottoms close to the trend confluence, stuff like that. This is actually something I pointed out to a few buddies yesterday. I entered a position at this level yesterday. And my reasoning for that was I was seeing this little blue box as a potential double bottom. It is just a 5-minute, but we were getting close to the 1 hour trend confluence. It was catching up to the price. On top of that, the candles were flipping a bright green color. And if I bring up the other indicators, you can see that we were also getting these big green dots just oversold looking on the oscillator 5, as well as bullish divergences on the oscillator 4. So once again, just seeing a lot of green, seeing the indicators line up together with my own analysis of a double bottom close to the 1 hour trend confluence. So that was enough for me to pull the trigger on a long when it looked like we were holding that level. So that's kind of a typical setup that I like to look for with these indicators. But again, just make sure you're doing your own back testing and that kind of thing and finding what works for you, basically. So that's the signals, the market flow. This will bring up a very faint gray line. Should show up. Yeah, so I don't know if you can see that, but it's just above the price right now. So just showing a general flow of the market direction. So that is kind of acting as resistance as we speak right now. Take profits. This will show up as some orange dots with the TP beside them, obviously. That is our take profit. And something I love about that is quite often what I look for in the indicators as well is not so much my entries, but it's really easy to get greedy when you're in a position. And one of the hardest things to do is take profits when you're in a good position. So I really like that these indicators just throw it right in your face saying, hey, take profits. If you haven't considered yet, now might be a good time. That's one thing that I absolutely love about these indicators. Tops and bottoms, that would be those very small blue triangles I was talking about. You can see that some of them just appeared on the way up here, for example. Just another warning signal, basically. Reversal warning, we went over that. That's those orange dots with the W. You can see a few of them here. Trend exhaustion, that'll just be an orange dot with no letters beside it. Stoch RSI, I don't know if this will actually show up for me because I'm on a shorter time frame. I think I have to be on a longer time frame, but they'll be big blue dots basically. Yeah, you can see some of these divergences here. What else? I'm just going to turn some of these off to just clean up my charts a little bit. One of the other things I really like about the latest indicator updates is the supply and demand. So that here, I'll actually remove all my drawings. And you can see that these boxes are actually mapped out with the indicators themselves. That's just automatic. And it's, well, the green would be demand zones. The red would be supply zones. I look at it like support and resistance a little bit. I know it's not technically the exact same thing, but quite often it works out absolutely perfectly to the same way I like to map things out anyways. For example, right now, I guess before we cleared this level, I was looking at, we had a high here, we have our higher high up here. Our higher low is kind of down here, so it's absolutely perfect that this indicator mapped out this demand zone at that level for me, which is what a level I'd typically be looking at already. So especially when I'm looking at small time frames, I absolutely love this automatic feature because it just saves me a lot of time. Sometimes when I'm trading 5-minute charts and that kind of thing, I don't want to, like, sometimes I'll have 3 monitors on, for example, and I'm watching charts, I'm also playing video games, I'm watching videos, whatever, I'm doing a whole bunch of stuff, and I don't necessarily want to be flipping back and forth between a bunch of different time frame charts. Don't want to be mapping out new boxes all the time and that sort of thing, and this just really helps me keep an eye on it very easily, so I really like that feature. daily, weekly, monthly, yearly. That will just basically point out where our previous such candles have gotten to, high and low. So we have our daily high, daily low from our previous candle, monthly, weekly, yearly, you name it. So those are obviously important levels in the market. So just a nice, easy way, once again, looking at important levels without having to change which chart you're on. So very cool there. Let's go the signal trend and probability calculator here. So once again, just no matter what time frame chart we're on, it's very cool that we can keep an eye on different time frames. We have the 4 hour, the daily, and the weekly, whether they're long, short, bullish, bearish, whatever. That can help you keep an eye on it without having to flip-flop between charts. And probability calculator, this is basically just showing you the probabilities of the current candle in play. I'm actually going to look at it on this setting here instead. You'll see a couple numbers pop up. So basically this is just showing the probabilities of what the probabilities are of the current candle, what levels it's going to hit, and that kind of thing. So when you see, let's just bring that setting, the probability calculator back up here, and it will give us the win rate, the losses, all that kind of thing. So that's based off of this. I think a lot of people are under the impression that that's for the trade setup feature, which I'm going to get into in a second, but it's actually this feature here. So just be aware of that. This is very cool. Obviously, I think this is more important on larger time frames because each of these targets is spaced 1% apart. You can see because I have the step percentage set to 1. So each of these targets are 1% apart. And yeah, when you're looking at degen time frames like a 5 minute or a 1 minute or a 15 minute, I mean, it's not too likely that your candles are going to just explode several percent and reach many of the targets. So that's why if I go onto a very small time frame, you're going to see some very small percentages of reaching certain levels. So that's the reasoning for that there. Let me just clear that out of the way here. And next we're going to get into the trade setup feature here. I know a lot of you are probably familiar with it, but just in case anyone's new here, the trade setup here. So this will actually give you potential entries, stop loss, take profits, that sort of thing. This one obviously had a rough time and got stopped out. Not going to win them all. But basically this one gives you a 3-to-1 risk reward ratio. So once again, the main thing I like about this, not necessarily the entries, and this is just me personally, obviously do your own testing and that sort of stuff, but once again, what I really like about these indicators is more so reminding me to take profits. I'm a big fan of finding my own entries no matter how much I love an indicator, because there's a lot of features on these indicators that help me take positions even when I'm not looking at the specific trade setups or the long signals. It's more so I personally like some of the other signals, but I really like how this indicator reminds me to take profits. If I was in a winning position here, I would absolutely be considering taking those profits because once again, it's just a good reminder that, hey, I know you feel like the smartest man in the world right now because you're in a winning trade, but think about closing part of your position, reduce some risk, take some profits and that kind of thing. You're not always going to catch a home run trade. It's actually very unlikely. So just be cautious, or just be diligent and remember to take profits. And that's what I really love about this indicator here. So that's pretty much all I wanted to go over as far as the indicators, the setups, my settings, kind of what I look at. Does anyone have any questions about the indicators? By all means, feel free to hop on the voice or type a message, whatever. If you do have any questions, I'll do my best to answer them. Don't always have the answers. And if not, I'm just going to kind of start looking at altcoins, see if I can find any juicy signals in some low cap altcoins and that kind of thing to kill off the rest of the time. If anyone wants to hop in, feel free. All right. Yeah, anyone can interrupt me at any time, but I'm just going to start looking at some altcoins. So, you guys know I've been looking at Palm recently. It's been moving very nicely. I've been pointing out on the Discord a little bit that ever since, I mean, this is the 4-hour chart here. But ever since on the 4-hour, we got this bullish cross of the trend confluence. I mean, really, as soon as we broke above the trend confluence, really, you can see that, I mean, Palm Swap went for an absolutely explosive move here. It's pumped about 280, 290% since that cross. So absolutely beautiful. Even just from the first long signal on the 4-hour chart here, if you waited for this daily candle close way up here, I mean, it's currently still up 130% or so, having topped out at about 180%. So beautiful call there. I'm finding that the Algo 3 with the way I have my settings right now, like I said, with the trend confluence on auto settings, the 4-hour and the daily have been picking up some absolutely explosive moves. So I'm very intrigued to just flip through some random altcoins and that kind of thing. I highly recommend that you guys do the same if you're here with me live and you guys have access to these indicators. Very interesting signals that they've been spitting out. Like I said, even the second one on Palm here would still be up over 60%. So absolutely huge. It is starting to say to take profits and that kind of thing. But I really like how we're seeing, you know, the EMA on the 4-hour here. This would be the 21 EMA. Curling to the upside, the market flow also curling to the upside. We're obviously getting quite a ways away from the trend confluence on this time frame. But I do like that things are looking, well, really at this point, a little bit parabolic. So just be cautious if we start to lose levels like that, for example. Let's just say, looking at it from a technical point of view, we had a high here, higher high here. I'm looking at this level as our higher low currently on the 4-hour. If we start closing 4-hour candles below that level, I'm going to assume that Palm is going to go for a little bit of a tumble, but we're going to have to see what happens there. Just a bit of a warning level there. But I really like how this indicator is showing some really early signals on some of these beautiful pumps. C-Pool is another one. And a lot of these have been pointed out to me by people in, let's say, the micro gems group in the Discord, for example. Having other people point out some of these beautiful gems, but man, look at some of these calls, like even where the indicator started calling for strong buy signals, basically right at this level when that candle closed. I mean, this would still be up 57%. It had pumped about 70%, something like that. Looking at the daily actually just a couple days ago on this is C-Pool. Would have just signaled back here, so it's really only up about 6 or 7% since then. This is one of those things where I'm taking this signal quite seriously. The fact that we also, let's say we just we even got a nice candle close on the daily above our resistance back here. So I mean, the thing is, there's quite a big level here that we could drop into to still find support, just because some of these low cap coins especially, they're so volatile that you have to have a bit of an iron stomach and definitely proper bankroll management if you are getting into these, what I'm going to refer to as gambles. But obviously we could fall quite a bit before even finding some support on things like this. But yeah, getting some beautiful calls there, so I'm very curious to see how that strong signal plays out on the daily there. BDP, you guys know I've been talking about this one for a while. Looking at the daily chart, this was an absolutely phenomenal call from the indicators. This is the biggest one that I've seen so far. Just going from where this daily candle closed to where this thing peaked out at. I mean, that was almost a 1800% pump from that signal. So just absolutely amazing there. So, I mean, just beautiful. I know a couple people in the Discord were able to catch a part of that move. I by no means caught that whole thing. I more got in somewhere in the range of this area back here. But I was still able to catch a nice little pump. Scaled out on the way up and started scaling back in now. But Things are looking, I'm not super confident in it right now, not gonna lie. I do like that the Algo 3, we're starting to see these bright green candles as we're getting close to the trend confluence, and this is the 4 hour, so I mean, fairly significant time frame, but you can see we are trading at my current support levels, basically old resistance as well. So I am a little bit nervous that if we flip this trend confluence, I mean, things could get, well, fairly scary to the downside here. So definitely be a little cautious playing with these low cap coins. Again, just use proper bankroll management, do your own research, form your own opinions. But anyone who's not live with me now, when you're seeing this later, if you appreciate getting these insights and getting some of these early calls and stuff like that, do me a favor, like the video, subscribe if you haven't, and all that sort of good stuff. But yeah, does anyone else in the group here have any coins specifically you want me to look at? Any features or settings for the indicator, anything like that? I'm just basically freestyling any analysis at this point, so yeah, I don't really like how this 4 hour looks like for Bitcoin. I don't like that we had this little failed pump attempt and then getting a nice big engulfing candle to the downside, right at a level that could definitely be resistance. So there is a few warning signs. You guys know that I've been quite vocally bullish lately, and I am still cautiously bullish. I say cautiously because I am acknowledging the fact that we're trading right at important resistance levels. But the fact that we're not getting a very violent sell-off when we're testing this very serious resistance gives me a little bit of optimism. I think that even if we do end up pulling back a little bit, I think the price, as long as we don't see some kind of a heinous sell-off, it just seems like we're kind of tapping away at resistance right now, and such an important level. I would think if the market was in a very unhealthy situation, that we'd be getting shut down immediately rather than actually consolidating at these levels. And once again, just kind of like how I was pointing out this trade range back here, the fact that we got that little bit of a range ended up giving us some support on the trend. I'm really hoping that what we're doing right now is just building a bit of range of support. So if we end up going a little bit higher, we can use that support as a bit of a springboard and start tackling some much higher levels than what people are expecting. Does anyone else have any other opinions on the market? Whether you agree with me, disagree with me, I am all ears for any input. And if not, I'm just going to keep pointing out random things, looking at random degenerate time frames here. The 5 minute, I love that our candles flipped a bright green here with a nice oversold big green dot there. Bullish divergence on the oscillator 4. I like to see all that stuff there. But again, that is just a 5 minute chart. Full degen mode. Let's go 1 minute. Really show these degens how to do it. And we are kind of in the process of setting some higher highs. Even if you really break it down and we're into the 1 minute kind of like this. You can see that back here we had a low, a lower low, a lower low. Our high between those points is there, and you can see that we were breaking above this level. So, I mean, as it stands right now, we should be in a very micro uptrend here. So we're going to have to see what happens. I'd say as long as we kind of hold above this level, things are looking good from a degenerate time frame here. Alright, KuCoin. Alright, let's check it out. I think we were talking about that one in the group yesterday. There we go. Yeah, for a while it wasn't showing up for me for some reason. This actually looks a lot like BDP's chart. It looks to me like we are trading near support right now. This is a 4 hour chart. I would be very interested to see if we can hold this level of support. Another thing about that that's interesting actually is that little bit of a a support zone, lines up quite well with the resistance of this little trade range we had back here, which actually, and that ended up consolidating basically on top of this old resistance back here. So I mean, that's looking pretty nice. As long as we can hold this box, I'd say things are in a good position. But I mean, this is again one of those coins that if it dumps, she could really dump off a cliff pretty quick. So be cautious. But I mean, it looks a little weak right now, but realistically, support always looks weak until you get the bounce. Nobody looks at support and thinks that, hey, this looks bullish as hell. Usually if you're just slowly trading at a support level, it looks like it's going to give. That's why a lot of people are very quick to short or sell into support. So you do want to typically be buying support, selling resistance. I know you emotionally, it always feels better to do the opposite. But like I said, support always looks weak until it holds and gets that bounce. So it is technically getting very close to those levels right now. I'll go into some smaller time frames too, just starting out at the 4 hour. Go down to the 1 hour here. On the 1 hour chart, we do have that strong short signal, which has been playing out. I mean, it got a little bit of a dump there, 10% with, well, I guess, I don't even know if you can short on KuCoin. To be honest, I'm not sure how derivatives work over there. If there is derivatives over there, rather. Let's check out the 5 minute. Just lost the hourly trend confluence on the 5 minute. I don't know. There's not really. Here, let's just check out what kind of trade volume. So it's got a market cap of almost 29 million and the trading volume is about 500,000. So not great trading volume. That's always that scares me a little bit, because when you get into these low cap coins, I guess, what was the cap there? Yeah, like I said, just under 29 million. So it's a fairly low cap, I suppose. When you have those low caps with such low trade volume, I mean, they can get sold off a cliff very quickly. It doesn't take much to move the price when there's that little trade volume. But yeah, like I said, the 4 hour is definitely trading near support, and as well, it does have that potential bottom signal. We got that little blue triangle, and again, we're just above the trend confluence. So yeah, there's definitely potential support there. Just be a little cautious. This could get a little violent to the downside. What do we got as far as, let's see if we can find any kind of a little wedge. That concerns me a little bit, that my downward sloping resistance lines up quite well with that EMA there, and as well that we did have this little failed break. I typically, and that might just be me being picky, to be honest, I just really like to have 3 exact touch points on my trend lines before they get a breakout, and we had 1, 2, 3 perfect touch points, but then we just got this failed break after that. So I'm hoping that we don't see the bears hammer into this with a little bit of momentum and dump us through support there. That could be bad news. But now if we took another run at this level and broke above this wedge, I think we could see some nice juicy upside movement there. What are the other indicators? Not really telling us much on the 4 hour. What's the daily saying? Definitely have a nice trend on the daily. You can see everything's moving up. The market flow has gotten above the price, which could end up acting as resistance on the daily now. That's a little bit concerning. Man, some of these early signals, though, when you see the daily giving like the first strong buy signal, for example, I mean, yes, it traded sideways for a week or two here, but look at that kind of a move as well. Over a 5x there. Man, this Algo 3 on altcoins on the daily time frame, these buy signals have just been on point. If you can find an early one, obviously now, like I said, as you start trading away from the trend confluence and stuff, it's more likely things are a little overextended. But man, some of these signals, like I keep pointing them out, they've just been absolutely beautiful. So, I mean, maybe it is a little bit late to be getting into this one. Even the second buy signal, man, it's still up over 30% as it stands right now. But even to where it peaked after that second signal, you got over 100% move there. Just absolutely beautiful. Palm is pulling back a little bit, but again, we do have this market flow support, we have the EMA support, we have the trend confluence support, and this is the 4 hour, not the daily. I don't even know if it's got a daily long signal yet. Hasn't got one yet, so maybe by the time it gets it, it might actually be a little overextended, but I mean, we're gonna have to see. That's beautiful that we got this nice rounding bottom. So the thing with Palm is there was a lot of pre-sale investors on this one. And basically this whole dump down here, everyone was slowly unlocking their tokens. Everyone was paid out daily, basically, with a portion of their tokens. So we never actually finished unlocking the tokens until, I don't know, it was somewhere along the bottom here. I don't know what the date was exactly. But you can see that the selling pressure has definitely come to an end as pre-salers had sold everything that they were planning to. Just a beautiful rounding bottom like that. And basically, as soon as we cleared any sort of structure, like let's say we just go to the high we set here, we even had that reversal warning there. After we got candle closes above that level, I mean, you can see that it's just been aggressively trending upwards since then. So, yeah, beautiful. Curious to see what happens if we do get a strong buy signal on the daily on this one. Will it just absolutely explode? Our all-time highs so far are back here in my chart. This is according to PancakeSwap. It's about 15 cents here. So, I mean, from where we are right now, if we were to break all-time highs, that's still another 140% move to the upside. And the thing is, this is still a very small market cap coin too. This is a decentralized exchange for anyone unfamiliar. Let's just check what Palm Swap. What is the... Oh, market cap is non-existent apparently. Coin market cap. Palm. So right now, even after pumping, what was it, almost 300%, it's still only a $5 million market cap. Obviously fully diluted, it's a lot more, so there is that to consider. But even if we go up another, 140%, you're still looking at under a $15 million market cap. So even at all-time highs, I mean, I personally think this thing has room to go. But it obviously depends what happens. I think they're in the process of launching their main net and stuff like that over the next week or two. I'm not sure exactly. I'm not a fundamental guy, and you guys know this. I like to draw colorful lines and trade them. But something to consider there is there might be a lot of hype with this coin moving forward, so we're going to have to see. I'm definitely not saying FOMO into it, but just basically pointing out how beautiful of a call that these indicators have been making, and just something to look for moving forward. Don't necessarily chase the pump. I mean, yes, the trend is your friend until proven otherwise, but there's a lot of coins out there that are just starting to get these signals, and yeah, I think it's definitely important to look at. If for anyone looking to invest in altcoins and start a shitcoin portfolio, that kind of thing. This indicator is just giving beautiful signals on altcoins. With that, if nobody has any other questions or altcoin requests, I'm thinking about wrapping up the stream here, just because, like I said, I do have to leave town in a couple hours. I got somewhere I got to be later, so this might be a little bit shorter of one. But if anyone has any last minute input, questions, concerns, what you agree, don't agree with, by all means hop in. And if not, I'll wrap things up in about a minute here. Something else I wanted to point out was just the MDX ALGO legend board. I am getting hammered this week. I was getting a little cocky last week, so it's good that somebody tore me down a peg here. Happy Cat Disco just showing us all who's boss here. Monthly, I'm still in first, but this is just a fun little game too. Just another part of being a part of the MDX Algo community. You get to take part in this little fantasy portfolio league with actual cash prizes, so very cool. Let's see here. What else? Yeah, like I said, guys, I think it's going to be interesting to see how the weekly candle closes this week. Like I said, I love that we're engulfing this little range here, but be cautious. We are still technically trading into resistance, so a little bit of mixed signals there. But I really do think that the bulls aren't in that bad of a position. I see a lot of people who are saying that the trend is way overextended and all that sort of stuff, but to me it seems like bear market PTSD, like I was talking about earlier. People aren't ready for Bitcoin to be bullish and having these over 5% moves to the upside. But guys, it's crypto, it's Bitcoin. I have seen Bitcoin pump 30% in a day, so you know how high, even from our current local lows. I mean, well, I guess that's quite a nice move there, over 60% to the upside. But yeah, this is crypto. Things can stay irrational for a ridiculous amount of time. So I do think that a lot of bears are going to be blindsided with just how high this market does rally. I don't think it's going to be a smooth ride. When I'm talking about 48K as a potential target, for example, I am not saying that's this week or next week or anything like that. That could be months away. Maybe like sometime, maybe around summer, June, July, something like that would absolutely make sense. Nothing goes in a straight line, but just those are some levels that I just wanted to keep on your guys' radar. But yeah, other than that, I think everything's looking okay for now. So we're just going to have to see what happens with this resistance level we're currently trading and see if we can form a little more structure here. Like I said, just create that support here and get higher, and then treat that as a bit of a springboard would be perfect. Doesn't always happen. Maybe we pull back down, but in the end, I really think that this trend has more fuel in the tank. I know this is our lower high on the macro time frame. That would make perfect sense to see a harsh rejection. But so far, the bears aren't really looking like they want to pull the trigger. So there just might be some gas left in the tank for the bulls. So keep an eye on that. Anyways, guys, I guess, yeah. Anyways, friends, obviously none of this has been financial advice. Always do your own research, form your own opinions. But if you appreciated this video one last time, please do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't. If the indicators I use interest you, there is a referral link down below for a 15% discount. And that also gets you into the MDX Crypto's Discord and the Legend board, which, like I mentioned, it's like a fantasy portfolio league. That's just a fun, free little bonus that he puts on for members, which can actually pay for the premium membership and then some if you play your cards right there. So with that, I'm out. Stay safe, my friends. Peace.